And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan. Welcome to this championship round of NFL IQ. I'm Cynthia Frelund here, joined as always by Logan Ryan. You need to tell us about some championship weekend memories. And of course, Zack Martin's here. We now have both sides of the ball represented. It is great. You want to make sure to subscribe, follow the show, comment. I'm really enjoying the comments. I really appreciate them. They help us get better. So if you subscribe and comment, then, things will be even better. How is everyone doing? Logan, fresh off, by the way, killing it on CBS. I loved it. Where your guys are going to Denver and totally blowing out the AFC Championship game. CBS, tell us where we can find it this weekend.
Yeah, we'll be on CBS this weekend. AFC Championship game will be live, pregame show. I'm super excited. Patriots at Denver. I've played 2 AFC Championships out there. Did not go as planned in either of those, but they no longer have Peyton Manning at quarterback, nor do I see Von Miller on defense. So I like my Patriots' chances. It'll be a lot of fun. I love breaking it down.
They don't even have Bo Nix.
They don't even have Bo Nix. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
So they said easy schedule all year. I guess it just keeps getting easier on the way to the Super Bowl.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, Logan. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Zack, how are you? What's going on? Tell us your thoughts on championship weekend.
I'm doing well. It's a great weekend of football. I'm in Hoosier country, so a lot of excited people about the Hoosiers last night. But yeah, no, looking forward to the AFC and NFC Championship games. Some good matchups, like Logan said. There's the Pats are back at it again. Of course they are, and some familiar matchups. Could have some familiar matchups of some past Super Bowls here. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
All right. Okay, so let's jump into whichever side you want. I mean, Logan, since CBS is going to be there, AFC, obviously you have kind of a connection to one of these teams. Tell us what you're looking for in this matchup between Drake May and the Patriots against Jarrett Stidham and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, let's start with the Patriots. A side I'm familiar with. Always in the AFC Championship. Obviously, a lot of that was Tom Brady, but credit to the organization, and going through a quick rebuild, drafting Drake May. Mike Vrabel didn't do that. The previous regime did that. Drafted Drake May, who obviously has proved to be a great case. And then Robert Kraft and getting Mike Vrabel. He had to pay that former staff $80 million he's paying the previous staff because he fired him after 1 year to get a coach like Mike Vrabel. And I think you see the Mike Vrabel success quickly, and the Liam Cohen and the Ben Johnson is leading to so many coaches getting fired because everyone feels like they're a quarterback and a coach away from a championship game. And I would be weary of that. It doesn't work like that easily. But we talk about how important coaching is in football. I've said it all year. It's the most important sport for coaching, in my opinion. And then obviously the quarterback has a huge thing to do with that. And then obviously Denver's side of things, the Bo Nix injury is just devastating. I was crazy. I never remember a situation like that in the NFL when a team's going to the AFC Championship and then the coach comes back to say the quarterback got injured, but no one really saw it. So that was pretty shocking. But, I wouldn't just take Denver for no good because Sean Payton is now going to coach his butt off. And that defense, who they've been a defensive team, is now going to know, hey, we don't have the quarterback. And Jarrett Stidham is going to know not to do what C.J. Stroud did and just use his defense, right? So I think you're still going to get a really, really tough test out of Denver. I think people might write Denver off, but truly, Sean Payton's going to prove why he's probably a Hall of Fame coach, and he's going to coach his best game. They have no choice, and Zack might be able to allude to it. When a star player's down, doesn't mean the team's going to necessarily play worse. You have to play better around them.
Absolutely, and I think Denver is a team, and you look at the defense, both lines of scrimmage. Obviously, you never want your quarterback to go down, but if you look at the teams in the playoffs that are left, if any team could maybe right the ship with their quarterback going down, I think it may be Denver with the cast they have around them, Coach Payton. I think the big thing for New England is going to be, and I don't think they will just because of how Coach Vrabel is. And, I've been a big admirer of Coach Vrabel from afar my whole career, just playing against his teams and how they play. But I know he'll keep those guys ready and not let them look ahead with the starting quarterback being down in Denver.
Facts.
So I thought it would be fun, considering we have both sides of the ball represented here, if I found some stats from the last matchup and asked if these were going to continue or if this was just something that was weird in last time. So The first one for my favorite defensive back. Well, Christian Gonzalez saw 16 targets. What? Uh, why? So, see, okay, whatever. That's not only the most in the playoffs, but it's the most he's ever seen. It's the most for any single defender in a single game this season. Okay, what were the results? 7 receptions allowed for a grand total of 58 yards. It's 3.6 yards per target. He forced 5 tight window targets. It wasn't a good result. So will Christian Gonzalez remain being super dominant in this game, Logan?
Yeah, he'll be super dominant. He's a transcendent player. Like I was trying to explain people this, and I should be having a sit down interview with Christian Gonzalez this week. That should be airing on CBS, so we'll chop it up. But
It's like I do, and I didn't.
there
This
you
time I
go.
really
Little
did.
preview. But I don't know if you guys can relate. You guys probably relate just to athletes. But if I saw one clip of Christian Gonzalez, his first practice as a Patriot, 5 seconds, and I said, "Yup, he's going to be generational." He is so smooth. He is so technically gifted. It's like watching. It's a little bit of exaggeration, but it's like when you watch Ken Griffey swing a bat, or you watch Steph Curry shoot a jump shot. It's just he is that smooth, right? He's the smoothest corner in the game. You can argue Stingley, you can argue Surtain, but Christian Gonzalez is anybody's top 3, top 5 cornerback list. But he is the smoothest generational athlete at that position, and his game is real. It's not fluky. It's going to be so consistent. So they run a lot of scheme where he's going to get the forced targets. They run a lot of man-to-man. He might be on the best receiver, or they run a lot of stuff where they help other guys and they force you to throw at him because they're confident. But his technique's so good. His fluidity is so good. You really can't teach it. I didn't have that fluidity that he has. And you can just see it in one snap. Like, that guy's legit. Like, one pass set. Zach, you ever play with somebody you see in one practice rep, you're like,
Tyron Smith. You watch him set, you just know. I mean, look at him, but yeah, same deal.
He's a scary looking guy. Okay, so let's talk about the Pats O-line for a second, because we saw Will Anderson pressure Will Campbell 3 times. 2 of those resulted in sacks. Now, on the other side, it's a little bit different, because the guy who was the most dominant for Denver's defensive line was actually Zack Allen in the last matchup on the inside. They have it from all over the place, though. So is Will Campbell, this poor rookie who has been getting nothing but, like, his arms are too short since being drafted, right? Is this a cause for concern? I mean, I would argue a lot of this is rookie-ness, not necessarily short arm situations, but Denver's front, obviously the most sacks on the season, the most pressure. What are you seeing from the Patriots O-line?
Yeah, I think you playing young players, you're going to have your growing pains throughout the year. Both their young guys missed some time too, so that hurts a little bit. But, at the end of the day, he is a rookie left tackle, and he's going against, an all-pro guy in Will Anderson all day. So it's going to be a tough way out. I do think they did, that he made plays on the plays they didn't help him out, right? Vrabel and the Patriots system, McDaniels, they've always done a great job, I think better than anyone, at finding ways to help their offensive line and protection. Even when they have guys that can shut guys down, they're still giving those tackles chips and different things for the D-line to look at. So they're going to have to come up with a plan with Benito and Cooper and those guys coming off the edge. So they're going to need some help. But like we saw, they took some licks on Sunday, but they were able to right the ship and keep the ball moving forward.
So I would have had a Bo Nix note, but it's kind of irrelevant. The thing that I have on this side for Denver's offense is the amount and volume and the reliance on screen passes. We've talked about it all season long. Bo Nix had the second most yards off of passes intended to go behind the line of scrimmage of any quarterback. Jared Goff was number 1, in case anyone was keeping track at home. It was 740 in the regular season. But, obviously the scheme is going to be a little different. Now, I did do preseason with the Broncos, which means I got to see more snaps of Jarrett Stidham
there you go.
than anyone has, anywhere, because, live, because he had 1 kneel down this season. So, what is the strategy? Because we know that the Patriots defense is not going to let you run the ball. I mean, look at what they did to Woody Marks. They've been excellent at stopping the run. I can give you the thing that I thought was most interesting was that Woody Marks was stuffed on 8 of his 14 attempts. That's the 2nd highest rate for any running back on a season. So they're not going to let you run. So what are we going to see from Jarrett? Like, what do you expect to see from Jarrett Stidham? I'll start with you, Zach. Like, how in offensive meetings, what do you think they're planning for? Because they do have a really good O-line. Denver does have a good O-line.
They do have a great O-line, and they're still going to try to run the ball. I mean, when you got Quentin Miners and Bowles and McGlinchey, and these guys can move guys off the line of scrimmage. So it's not that they're not going to run the ball, but like you said, they got to find creative ways to get the ball out of his hands quickly, like a run game, whether it be a screen pass, your little swing passes. But I do think Stidham's been in Denver a long time. If I had to guess, I don't know him at all, but there's got to be some confidence in him that he's been there a long time. I know when we had backup quarterbacks that were there for extended amount of years, you did have a lot more confidence in those guys being in the building, knowing what they're all about as a football team. So I don't think, although, yes, we want the starting quarterback in, I don't think in that building the worries are as high as they
And
are
how do you
in the
prep
media.
for a different quarterback in this situation? Do you look at like historical film against Stidham, or do you think it's more about Sean Payton? Because what's really interesting is the difference between that last game was how much they used a bunch of motion. We hadn't seen Denver use anywhere near that much motion, and they passed from motion more than they had all season long, like 78% of the time. So it was a totally different game plan in this last matchup against the Bills than it had been all season long to begin with. So what do you think as a defense, how are you prepping for Jarrett Stidham? And I mean, obviously, hopefully you get Troy Franklin back and Pat Bryant, some of their wide receivers, but how are you prepping in this moment?
Well, first of all, I think it's a lot about a backup quarterback. They don't play often. So when they play, what's their demeanor? Right? And are they a confident person? Are they rattled? What were they like? And I think Stidham was a former Patriot. So I don't know how many Patriots were on the team with them, but I know people around the building probably know how he was and what his demeanor was and what his strengths and what his weaknesses are. And it's a small league. There's a lot of turnover from team to team. I can't think outside of Kyle Shanahan. I think that Sean Payton's probably the next best coach of having a scheme help a backup quarterback.
Yep.
Right? It's not like go replace what Josh Allen does. Like Kyle Shanahan, the Niners, they throw the ball short, they throw the ball left and right. Sean Payton has always spread the ball out quickly, has good plays for his quarterback to get in rhythm. They stretch the field horizontally a lot, not just vertically. A lot of passes to the sides and screens. And so I think Bo Nix runs a system that it's quarterback friendly, I would say. So a lot of their offense can look the same. Obviously, they're going to have to run the ball, right? You can't put it on Stidham's hands to win the game. So they're going to have to run the ball. But Mike Vrabel in that defense I was part of in Tennessee, same thing. We were a dominant run defense. He's going to stop that run and make it be in Stidham's hands. So how comfortable can Sean Payton have Stidham early in the game? Can he find him easy completions? And Sean Payton's made a career of finding his quarterbacks easy completions. Like Drew Brees' career, one of the most accurate passers of all time. Bo Nix, extremely accurate of a passer. Similar, trickle it down. That's not just because of the quarterbacks. It's the system and what the system allows them to do. Great players, but they understand the system. So I think, like I've been saying, it's going to be a tougher test than Patriot fans might just assume, because he is going to have a system that's going to help his quarterback out early in this game. And it's going to be screen passes. It's going to be short lateral passes. It's going to be ways to keep the offense rolling. It's not going to be like, oh no, Lamar Jackson's out. How is this guy going to replace that production?
You're not going to do.
Right.
Right.
It's not that type of situation. So it's much more quarterback friendly. And we'll see how Stidham is able to handle that. But Sean Payton's a great coach. He's going to have a plan for him.
Real quick, I think that when you hear they're going to stop the run or whatever, as a Denver fan, you don't have to go out and run it 150 yards and 30 times. You just have to be efficient on the ground and let the quarterback stay comfortable in there. You can't put him in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 all day. Let's just be efficient on 1st and 2nd down in the run game and give him, 3rd and manageable and keep the ball moving
To me,
forward.
this one comes down to the red area, because if you look at where New England has been vulnerable, their red zone defense, not good. In the regular season, it ranked 30th. They allowed 68% of red zone trips to result in touchdowns. And in the postseason, the red zone offense has a 25% success rate. So my question, obviously, look, Drake May against man coverage, he lit up everyone. 8 for 12 for 106 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Texans. Now, the thing that they used were shorter passes. He went 8 of 11, for two of his touchdowns. 2.59 second time to throw. So Drake May his ability to understand what Denver's defense is giving him and leverage probably his tight end, because that's usually what Denver's defense allows you to target. That will be, to me, the key in this game. And can they turn those drives that get into the red area into points? That's, to me, it's who's better in the red area, because that the Patriots defense, for as great as they've been, the red area has been a problem. And now with the offense having a little bit different red zone results in the postseason, that's something where Denver's defense could have an advantage. Also, and I can't not mention it here, I hate Jarrett Stidham's nickname. It is the worst in football. Stiddy. Absolutely not. I would
Stiddy?
not let anyone call my quarterback Stiddy. Never. Not once.
That's funny. Quick point about the red area. I agree. Look, it all comes down to points, right? In big games, Zach's been there. He knows it comes down to like who has more points at the end of the game. Obviously, 7 opposed to 3 is a big difference. I think for the Patriots, though, they gave up, not a great red zone defense, but I think they have some of the fewest trips to the red zone. So people don't get down there enough for them to play it, to get good enough at it. And they'll take that, right? Because scoring defense, I'm sure they're probably top 10.
Sure.
So although
But
they allow people to score when they're down there, if you don't get down there, kind of irrelevant how many points you give up a game. Obviously, that defense has been lights out, turning the ball over, getting sacks in this playoffs. So I think that is kind of the biggest, not how you want to draw it up, but if you don't let people in the reds, if Stiddy can't get the ball down there, then it don't matter if that red zone defense isn't good. You got to get in the red zone to then operate. And I know New England's had their hat off on not letting people even get in the red zone.
so one last thing before we move on from this game. I'm doing a little tiny feature on Game Day Morning about the altitude and the difference with the altitude. So I was curious if you guys have had experiences where does it come into play? Because technically you need 9 days to adjust to altitude. Clearly no one has that. So the next best thing is to come in as quickly, so as soon to when the game starts as possible, that you don't miss the game. That's the strategy for that. And you're having 17% less oxygen 1 mile up. And like there's some cool numbers that will nerdy stuff that will show you. But how did that manifest for you in terms of playing there?
Whenever we played out there, I felt a pretty big difference. I'm not gonna lie, flying out there the day before the game, but it was always like early in the game, at the first couple drives or the first quarter, and then after that, I would kind of settle in. But it definitely is. It definitely is a factor, no doubt. I mean, Logan's probably played there more than I. I think I've only played there once or twice, but I remember feeling it being out there.
Yeah, so I played, the last 2 AFC championships, Denver, New England out there, 2013, 2015. And we also used to play them in the regular season all the time because the NFL wanted Brady Manning as much as possible. And we spent a week out there one time in the regular season, or 5 days, like went out there on Tuesday and spent the whole week. We had times in the AFC Championship games where you can't do that, so we went normal the day before. And I definitely agree with Zach. In the first kickoff and the first drive, you need that oxygen tank. Like, you just feel like that's when our adrenaline's always high as a player, and then you're kind of out of breath in the first drive is because you're so excited. And then most people say after that first hit, I settle down. After that first, the buildup is big for this game. So we definitely felt it in my opinion, I felt it the first drive of the game. And then when I came back after that first defensive stop or whatever, they got a field goal. I mean, Peyton Manning used to score all the time with that offense. So whether they scored or not, you kind of got that oxygen on the side, you settled down. And then I really didn't feel it after that. Now, we didn't have tremendous success out there. That could be Peyton Manning. That could be just Denver. But I didn't feel it past, I would say, the first few drives of the game is when it's the biggest factor. And it's a real factor.
It's so interesting because you'd think it'd be the end of the game because fatigue, your recovery rate in less oxygen becomes longer. So you would think fatigue towards the end of the game would set in more than necessarily the first drive or whatever. So that's a really interesting insight because I would have assumed the fourth quarter.
You may,
would be
but
what you feel
you physically lose your breath quicker.
Well, I also think by the end of the game too, you're not thinking about it at all. Like before the game, it's like it's in the back of your mind, like, man, I hope my wind is good. And by the fourth quarter, you're not thinking about that at all. You're just
because I was like, when they went into overtime with Buffalo, I was like, I wonder if we'll see effects of fatigue here. I don't know, just because there's no way that, that to me, like, especially if you're using tempo or the offense is really smart about wearing people out. Like, I mean, I see people at sea level whose defenses get gassed in the fourth quarter. It's not like it doesn't happen then. So is it extra gassed, 17% more gassed? Whatever. So, but the ball does travel between 5 and 10 more yards on deep posts or for field goals. However, you do lose something in accuracy. Just a little something.
Yeah,
Could be
what do you
interesting.
know? Like,
The more you know,
the more you know. Look, I know Peyton Manning used to utilize that tempo. They definitely used it to their advantage. I don't think they're going to do that with Stidham. There is also natural fatigue during the game, right? You just wear and tear.
And it's
But
also week 21,
right.
like it's not.
But I think like when you're so conditioned to finish the game strong, that no player is going to admit or say, man, I was really worn down by the end of the game. Like 2 minutes to go win the game, everyone feels at their best. I mean, this is all you got, And I always say this, like, in terms of the playoffs, it's won in cold weather. So the 4.340s go out the window. No one's running a 4.3 in under 40 degrees. Okay, they're running it in their indoor track in the spring, but no receivers running 4.4 at 40, under 40 degrees. You look at the weather in Chicago, it was snowing in both games. Speed is no longer a factor. And that's why the offensive and defensive lines come into so much play. That's why running the ball comes into so much play. Physicality comes into so much play. I know we love the speed, but those speed teams don't last. Kansas City Chiefs in their day, but they don't really last in the cold weather like that. So, again, we're not running as fast. The game's played at a 4.5 now. The game's played at 4.6. So I might not be physically as tired at corner because I'm not chasing guys as fast as I'm chasing them in September, right? That's when guys are really running really fast. But when you have 2 high ankle sprains and a pulled hammy, now you're in week 20, you're not running that 4.3 no more. That's like, them days are, that was 10 weeks. That's when the rookies hit the wall and us veterans come and win the championships. That's where you start signing old guys around this time of year because the game's slowed down to my speed now.
I love it. Well, speaking of old guys, let's switch to the other side. Matthew Stafford's not that old, but he's certainly not the youngest player in the league. Before we get into the game, did you guys? I hear people spray Tinactin on their limbs when it's cold because that keeps the heat in. Did you ever do that? It sounds gross to me.
A Vaseline. People would rub like Vaseline on their arms and stuff. I've never heard Tinactin though.
That's a John Madden. Boom, tough acting, Tinactin. That's all I remember about that. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
We had Tiger Bomb.
That's athlete's foot
Tiger
spray.
Bomb.
You ever have a Tiger Bomb, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
You put Vaseline on your cleats too?
No.
I've never seen that. I just seen people rub it up and down
Yeah, if you put Vaseline on your
stuff.
arms, right? If you're not wearing sleeves, you definitely got Vaseline on your arms. 1, it makes your muscles look nice and shiny. 2, it kind of
that's why
we gotta get the
everyone's
biceps
doing
going.
it, yeah.
We know Fridays are our big bicep workout days on purpose. And 2, it breaks the wind. Like the wind doesn't cut you up as much.
Yeah.
So you have an Under Armour, you slather Vaseline on your chest, put the Under Armour on top of it, right? And that's going to stop the wind from kind of really cutting you up and getting too cold. So there's a lot of tricks for, sometimes people wear doctor's gloves underneath their gloves, keeps the heat in your hands.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tricks that you have to staying warm. I haven't seen Tinactin, I've seen people I heard people are putting like red chili flakes in their cleats or something. I don't know what's going on, but
Amazing.
yeah, they're doing some different stuff nowadays. But
Can't imagine the smell after that. Anyways, I don't even want to think about it. All right, so let's move into this actual game. It is the 3rd installment this season, the rubber match, if you will, between the Rams and the Seahawks for all the marbles, the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. It is in Seattle, where it shouldn't be as cold as Chicago. We can start anywhere you want. Why don't you, Zach, you give us your assessment of this game first, and then I'll do my fun little stats for us.
Yeah, obviously these teams know each other very well. Third time up. I will say my guy. I got to give a shout out. DeMarcus Lawrence played 11 years there in Dallas and finally got himself to a championship game with his first year in Seattle. So pumped for him, rooting for him. But the Rams have kind of been my pick for the last 7-8 weeks, and I just think with Stafford and McVay and that combo and the experience they have in the playoffs. I'm going to take that over Darnold and McDonald's lack thereof, I guess. But I will say Seattle was as impressive as any team this weekend. Niners were beat up a little bit, but to say the least. But Seattle took care of business. But I do think the Rams come in and get them and go on to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Seattle. I watched the tape, and they physically in Week 18 beat the mess out of the Niners, and they did it again. And I know the Niners are bred on physicality, and they obviously got worn down this year. But the Seahawks beat the Niners at their own game twice. And McVay, as smart and as wizardry as he is, the Rams are based on physicality. They're based on running the ball. They're based on having Puka Nacua, a physical wide receiver, right? And the Seahawks can really play physical. Like, I'm really impressed. They're using that home field. They're using the crowd. Their defense is violent. Offensively, Sam Darnold's taking care of the ball. He's understanding his assignment, and it's rolling right now. But in order to go in there and to disarm all that, you got to make plays. To take a crowd noise away, you got to score points early in the game. You got to be good on third down. When they're on their feet, then you get that first down, it's like, all right. Matthew Stafford's the guy that can do that. He can go in hostile environments. Obviously, they're in the same division. They know each other well. But Puka Nacua and their playmakers are physical enough where they can fall forward. They can lay the boom. Devontae Adams, not as physical, but he is so good with his feet, he can make you fall down, right? So I think, like Zack said, I mean, shoot, Cynthia, I've been picking the Rams since probably week 5 on this show, but it's because their experience is real. And it's going to take some experience to go in there and take away the Seahawks' momentum, because they've earned some real momentum this season, and they're legit. This is going to be a good one. I mean, I think both these games are going to be a good one, but this game is going to be electric, because that is a tough place to play right now. It reminds you of the LOB days.
You're right about Seattle too up front. I mean, when you watch that Niners game, Seattle was, I mean, they were pushing San Fran in the backfield on his run plays, and that does not happen to San Francisco when you watch their tape. So you're right, Leonard Williams and those guys up front, it's gonna be a big test for the Rams.
Would you think it's fair to say that of the 4 remaining teams, the defense that is the least good, they're all very good, let me be clear, but the one that's the least good is the Rams?
Yeah. I don't say by far, but yeah, Seahawks.
No, I'm not saying, by far, but it's wild, because what we've seen over the second half of the season has been the Rams defense allowing increasingly more and deeper receptions. And I'm not talking about Jared Verse. He's still crazy coming off the edge. And I think it was very interesting. If you watch who he had success against in this last matchup, it was Joe Thuney, the left tackle who hadn't played a game since the Super Bowl last year for the Chiefs. This was Joe Thuney's first start since then. And he had 5 of his pressures came in the fourth quarter against him, which was very interesting. They found the mismatch, and they're like, just keep doing that, right? Like, just keep doing the smart thing. But I was very interested in that. But if you watch the secondary and you watch the ability for teams to outmaneuver them, that has been something. It's an observable metric. There's no shade. I live in Los Angeles. You'd think like people start killing me here. But ultimately, we've seen it. I mean, Cam Curl had a nice game last game, but we've seen not as great results from the Rams secondary as we did in the beginning of the season. What is causing that?
Cynthia, can I follow up on something you said right
Yeah.
there? Okay, Joe Thuney, probably been to like 9 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
we gotta talk about
too.
this. Joe
Yeah.
Thuney's been to like
Yeah,
Thuney's been to like 10
Thuney,
out of
yeah.
10 like AFC Championship games between the Patriots and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now he was, not too close from another one, right?
Yeah,
So
no, he's really
Zack,
good.
because Cynthia just alluded to it. This guy's an all-pro guard, and he just moved to left tackle for the NFC divisional game against Jared Verse, right? Can you tell me, Zack, could you have ever went to left tackle? Can you just explain to the fan how insane that is and he did that for the Chiefs before as well. But can you explain how hard that is from go to guard to tackle in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's like my worst nightmare. I will say, and I got to give Thuney love, because the guy has been an elite guard for a long time, right? He steps up and plays left tackle in the Super Bowl last year. Doesn't go great. He plays exceptional again at guard this year, and then when they need him the most, they come to him and say, "Hey, can you move out to left tackle?" And he does it, right? So, when you've played inside, especially the entire year, I know he's had some reps at tackle. But when you're used to having a guy 6 inches away from you and getting your hands on him right away, and then you kick out there and you're in no man's land in space, and it is a tall ask for a guy who's not that big. I mean, Tooney probably goes 6'4", 305. I mean, he's not an enormous O lineman, and to see him out there and punching and staying in front. And yeah, Verse got some pressures, but
I'm not kidding
I
him.
think just
Yeah.
no, I know you're not. I know. I just want to make sure everyone realizes how hard that is to do and what the Bears asked him to do, right? Because as a player, especially a guy that's been elite at a certain position, you don't want to move from that position for multiple reasons. One, that's not your spot. Two, are you making the line worse when you're moving 2 positions rather than 1? But selfless enough to go out there and lay it out there for his guys at left tackle versus the heck of
Cynthia,
a
I'll put it
rusher.
like this. It's like taking Kyle Juszczyk or somebody, the top fullback in the game, all Pro Bowl every year. Say, hey, Kyle, we're banged up. We need you to play X receiver this week against a cornerback and go get open. Like, it is nothing. I don't say it's not similar at all, but you're the best in the world at what you do. And then they want you to go play maybe at a harder position, more skilled position against someone who's one of the best in the world at what they do on 1 week's notice. It is insane for him to do it. And he's done it multiple times. And this is why Joe Tooney might have 4 or 5 Super Bowls to his belt. I'm not sure how many, maybe 6 Super Bowls. I think he won 3 with the Chiefs, 3 with the Niners, 2 or 3 with the Patriots, 3 with the Chiefs. So he might have 6 Super Bowls, but it shows you how.
And I will say that Verse probably going into that game thought he was going to get more than 5 pressures on him. And for him to step up and, really, really cool to watch as an offensive line guy.
That's crazy. Okay, so let's switch. Here's my first stat here was about Sam Darnold. So let's start on that because we're talking about the defense for the Rams, but let's just talk about start right there. He was sacked 2 times against San Francisco. However, when he was kept clean, 10 of 12 for 109 yards. He went 3 of 4 on intermediate passes, and he went 0 of 2 on deep passes. Now, the intermediate and deep stuff is what I think is really interesting against the Rams. Are they going to give him enough time to be able to make those passes? Because that is where Sam Darnold has been doing really, really well and just connecting with Jackson Smith and Jigba, or even, now we saw Cooper Kupp be a kind of added element. And of course, Rashid Shaheed with that first, special teams coming up. I'm glad he's back. That's a huge weapon for them. So starting in the passing game before we get to the question mark, which is the run game, but without Zach Charbonnet. So do you think he's going to be able to complete some of those passes against the Rams defense, who's been more vulnerable to passes lately?
I do, because you said it right there. The Niners defense is so predicated on taking away the deep passes. Same as Seattle's defense. They're really not going to give that up. They're really well coached with Saleh. They had a bunch of liabilities, so they knew we can't give up the big ones. Like, that had to be the game plan, right? And if Seattle wears us out, they wear us out, which they did. So the Rams are used to having a high-powered offense. They're used to having a lead. So they probably, they are more susceptible to the deeper balls. It's I'm not saying not their priority. Every defense's priority is to take away the big explosives. But I think they will have more chances. And I think Sam Darnold will connect a little bit more. This might be a little more high scoring than obviously the last one they scored a lot and the other team didn't. But this might be a little more high scoring. Some defenses both might be a little more susceptible than they've been based on how good the Rams offense is and how the Rams defense gives up points. So I think Seattle definitely will throw the ball successfully downfield a little bit more because you got to give hats off to Robert Saleh and that defense on what he was trying to take away when your stars are banged up.
I think it comes down to Seattle's got to make Stafford feel uncomfortable. They got to get some other way around. The Rams, they both got to make him feel uncomfortable, but the Rams got to get some pressure, right? Like you said, you've seen the Rams give up some stuff on the back end, and Young, Verse, Fisk, these guys got to come alive. I don't think Seattle. I do like some of the guys in their line. I like Babel, the young guard.
Ray Zabel, love the name.
We got some other guys, but yes. But as a whole, they're going to have to come up and protect as a whole if they want to give him a chance to push the ball downfield.
I hope that the Seattle Seahawks are watching and they clip that off, because I feel like coming from you, that kid would be like, "Holy smokes, you even know who I am? That's crazy." So
oh yeah, I've been watching. He's good.
Okay, so how do they outlast? One of the ways to keep pressure off of Sam Darnold is to run the football. We know Kenneth Walker, obviously, he had a lot of success running to the outside against the Niners. 3 touchdowns scored on outside rushes. okay, let's be honest. After a while, maybe that first one was like a true like dagger. Some of the other ones were maybe a little less daggery, but he had 116 yards on these outside runs. Usually we see Zach Charbonnet be the red zone threat. They're kind of used kind of interchangeably. They both get some pass catches, etc. Like, is Kenneth Walker going to be enough to, the Rams are good at stopping the run. We did see, it's interesting because DeAndre Swift against them on runs to the right, they were so successful. On runs to the left, they were shut down. So it was. I mean, who knows? I don't know if that was something they were purposefully giving up or not, but it was kind of a stark contrast. So what do we see about the run game for Seattle in this one? Because to me, I think that's the key, because Sam Darnold cannot turn the ball over more than one time, in my estimation, before it becomes something that's untenable.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to run the ball because, again, it comes back to we can't keep giving Stafford the ball, right? We can't. He's got enough weapons. Obviously, Chicago, that's what I was most impressed with, is them to shut down kind of a Puka and Adams, right? But you can only do that for so long. So both teams are going to have to run the football. Late in the playoffs, right? It comes down to, if you watch these games, it's coming down to turnovers and can you run the football and play good defense. So I do agree with that. When you look at the games from last week, every team that lost the turnover battle lost the game. So that's what it comes down to. And when you're running the football, those chances go way down.
You gotta run to control the game in the playoffs, but you gotta throw to win it. You have to throw in certain situations to win the game. You gotta throw on 3rd and 7 and connect. You gotta, in 4 minute, in a game, you're trying to put the game away. 4 minutes a situation in football that the offense practices when they got to get that first down or 2 to milk the game, right? And everyone's in the box. So then you see the play action. You see that 3rd and 6, and the announcers say, do they run it here and make them use a timeout, or they go for the win, right? You got to be able, and that's what Matt Stafford and them have the advantage of that quarterback down the stretch to throw it to win it. I'm going to be not worried. I got to look at how the Seahawks run game looks without Charbonnet in there, because he is their short yardage back. He is the one that I know fantasy owners are like, man, Walker gets all the way down there just for Charbonnet to score it in, but Charbonnet is the one that punches it in a lot for them, right? They're used to that. So I think Kenneth Walker is a heck of a back. He's a really strong back. He's smaller, but he's a really strong back. When you have 2 backs defensively, right, we have to prepare for both backs. So when Charbonnet's in there, there's these type of plays. When Kenneth Walker's in there, these type of plays. He's the screen back. He's the short yardage back. He's the passing back. And there's different tendencies. And they'll say, hey, when this back's in there, it's 60% pass. When that back's in there, it's 50-50, right? And that kind of tips what the defense does. So when you have 2 backs, you can break your tendencies. You can say, hey, when Charbonnet's in there, last week we all passed, but this week we're going to run with him in. When Kenneth's in there, this week we're going to pass with him in. You can tip your tendencies based on what back you have in there, or you can have both backs in the game and run all different. So that's to me, the strength of having 2 backs. As a defense, we don't know what you can do because you can change your tendencies from last week. So that is why having a bell cow is so rare in the NFL, a guy that just doesn't come off the field like Christian McCaffrey, because they can run every play with him on the field. So can Kenneth Walker be that bell cow and play every single snap? There's wear and tear to that. You get tired. Can he catch it? Can he pass protect? Can he run in short yardage, right? Because if you bring another back in, your 3rd back, then we definitely know he's not getting the ball. He's in there to pass protect. We know it's a pass. So that, I believe, is the biggest disadvantage when you lose a 1-2 duo, is now your tendencies get a little more telling. And that's all you need on defense, is a tip or a tendency to figure out if it's run pass.
Before we move on, can you explain the difference between 4-minute offense and 2-minute offense? Because I think some people would benefit from this. A lot of times the timeout strategy is what we hear from broadcasters a lot. But as in terms of being a player, what's the difference?
Okay, so I'll break down 2 minutes. Zach, you break down 4 minutes. So I think 2 minute, obviously we know, is end of game. 2 minutes more of a defensive term, in my opinion. Or either way. So 2 minute is, 2 minute warning, right? The offense has the ball. They're down a score, and they are trying to win the game. They need a field goal to tie it. They need a touchdown to win it, whatever it may be. Pretty much everything's going to be a pass. They got to get out of bounds, right? And it's 2 minute offense. We know it. No huddle, tempo, time and score. Here we go. What Matt Stafford did to Carolina, right? He got the ball back. Here's what we got. We need a touchdown to win the game, boys. Let's go take their hearts out or whatever he said. That's 2-minute offense. Obviously, 2-minute defense. You have a lot more defensive backs on the field. You have your best pass rushers on the field, right? Those are guys that close the game. And a lot of times in sports, even for youth parents, everyone's so concerned about their kids starting the game. Like, oh, I want to be a starter. Who's on the field to win the game? That's more important. Who's closing out the game? So when you see Buffalo, like, oh, we signed Joey Bosa to close out games. We signed Von Miller to close out games, to get that sack to end the game. That's 2-minute defense. Obviously, the quarterback knows what their situation is in 2-minute offense.
All right, so 4-minute offense there is going to be at the end of the game when the offense has the lead. They're trying to keep the clock moving at all costs, make sure that they do not give the ball back to the opposing team. So that was always our thing, right? When we get into 4-minute, our goal is to not give the ball back to the other side. Obviously, timeouts coming that. You're thinking run most of the way, so you're getting defenses that are selling out. You got 10, 11 guys up on the line of scrimmage, so it's going to be your hardest looks. So the big thing really on the timeouts, and like it always comes down right to the third down. If you're going to run or pass it, I think timeouts come big into that. If you don't have timeouts, a lot of times you're going to see them to run to keep the clock moving. Maybe if the team has another timeout, they, the offense throws the ball knowing that the clock can stop no matter what. But the most important thing we talk about is get a first down and make sure that we end the game with the ball in our hands.
Cynthia, do you know what the best 2-minute defense is?
What's the best 2-minute defense?
Your 4-minute offense. Period. So you don't have to play.
I knew it was going to be something like that.
Right. So you don't have to play. If your offense can get the yards needed, your defense never has to go out there. I hate so many offenses that get conservative and they run 3 plays. The other team, they run the ball 3 times. The other team used all 3 timeouts. They punt it back and say, all right, defense, they have no timeouts. 50 seconds left. Go win the game. How many times have we seen Buffalo put in that situation? So teams like his team, the Dallas Cowboys, our New England Patriots, Tom Brady will handle it. They were so good in 4-minute that we didn't have to play 2-minute defense. It didn't come down to a Hail Mary. Tom Brady got the necessary first downs where we would kneel the ball to win the game. And that is a big difference. That's why your offense is so important in the fourth quarter. So your defense doesn't have to go out there to get one more stop. Here we go again. What can go wrong? So that's clearly your best 2-minute defense, having a great 4-minute offense.
As an offensive lineman, that's that would be like our situation, right? O-lineman kind of flying under the radar, but when the 4-minute comes up, that's like
you shine.
That is our situation of the game, right? That's where you shine. Can you take over the game and can you end the game with the ball?
Let's ask, who has the best 4-minute offense? But you have to weigh it against the defense, right? Not against the neutral. In this matchup, who has the advantage in 4-minute? Who has the advantage in 2-minute?
So to me, in my opinion, in 4-minute, I think the Rams are one of the best 4-minute offenses, period.
I did too.
Because in 4-minute offense, you have to run the ball. We always say they're a running team. Puka Nacua can get involved in the run game. You have an extra blocker with him.
Yeah.
And they run a lot of tight ends already. You bring a lot more tight ends in 4 minutes because you have to run the ball. And Sean McVay's such a good play caller. He might pass it when you sell out for a run. So in my opinion, it's a big advantage for the Rams in 4-minute.
I think Puka is the X factor in that whole thing, right? Because we talk about defensively, you're selling out to stop the run. You're thinking up the gut, a lot of inside type runs. And then I think we saw it against Chicago in the overtime. One of their first plays, they did the end around to Puka and, got 3 or 4 yards, real physical run. I think he got a first down, lowered his shoulder. So he is the X factor, in my opinion, because you can use him in a lot of different ways. Not only getting the ball, but also going up in the hole and blocking. I mean, this guy blocks as well as any receiver. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's another guy, but this guy blocks as well as any receiver.
Saying all season, Cynthia. And what about this last one? Why the Rams are good? If you sell out for the run, right? We have everybody in the box, all 3 linebackers, got our safety down. Then you have a one-on-one outside with Devontae Adams or Puka. You can throw them a screen. You can throw them a slant. Matt Stafford can say, hey, man, there's a lot of people. We have 20 people at the line of scrimmage. Let me just throw this out to Devontae Adams real quick, who is one of the best one-on-one route runners of all time. So that's what makes them really difficult in the low red zone. That's what makes them really difficult in 4-minute. They can just toss out to Puka. That's a tough one-on-one tackle when he only needs 5 yards. So to me, they're the biggest to put away in a game. They're the hardest to finish because of what that offense can do in the fourth quarter.
Which leads me to it's kind of like I was leading the witnesses here. My interesting stat here that I did think was quite interesting. We've seen the Rams play a lot of 13 this season. Like at least 10% of their offensive plays have been in 13 personnel. Last week, So 13, obviously, 1 running back, 3 tight ends. Last week, they went back to 11. Like, they just went straight 11. So it was almost entirely 11. They two touchdowns and 335 yards off of plays from 11 formations, so 3 wide receiver sets. I'm curious if that was something specific against the Bears, or is it just like, Sean McVay's like, I'm going to be a poker player and I'm going to, bluff for you. And it's really a 13, but 11, or making 11 out of 13, or like, all of these different, like, what is that?
I would think just that's a game plan thing. Like, hey, we have a mismatch here with 11 personnel. That's where my mind goes, especially with a team that's run that much 13 personnel in this stuff, and they've got tight ends, athletic tight ends that can do a bunch of different things. So, to me, that has to be just a matchup thing. That was their game plan going into the week. We're gonna wear out 11 personnel and make these guys run all over the field.
I agree, Zach. That's a matchup. I'm loving Zach today, man. We got to bring him back every week. I'm about to cut him in my salary, get him every week. Look, he's making me feel good. So I think, look, because we're really talking ball now, and I think that that's a game plan for the Bears, right? And let's get them in smaller people, because when you put 11 personnel, that's when the nickel comes in the game. They take the linebacker out the game. They take the nickel in the game to cover the slot receiver now, right? And a lot of people get you in smaller defense to run the ball. So let's take a linebacker out the game, and then we'll run the ball against that look, right? Well, the Seahawks, I would think they live in nickel. I think they live with a lot of DBs on the field. Their DBs are extremely versatile. I played with Julian Love. I know Nick Emenwari. Witherspoon's really versatile of a defensive back. So they're all physical. They all can cover. They all can hit. So I would put a good bet on it that they run a lot more 13, because if you're going to live in nickel, then we're going to put our big boys on the field and we're going to run the ball on you. We're going to try to get you out of your nickel. So I think Sean McVay swings that back and goes a lot more bigger people, because the Seahawks live in a small people defense. And I think that's going to swing the other way.
As an added bonus for the Rams, even though it's could be a game plan thing, you may, you're spending a little extra time maybe on 11 personnel with Seattle, and it's like, are you going to see it the whole game? So just a little extra added bonus for me.
I love anyone that comes from the Shanahan tree. There's like always an element of like, is this petty, that I'm here for. I like live for a little, like a little bit of petty that comes out of it. I mean, I've told Kyle that, I've told Sean that. It's not like it's a true compliment. I think it's smart. I think anyone who's good at bluffing has an advantage in this league. Okay, so speaking of bluffing, and by the way, I didn't mean to not talk a ton about Matthew Stafford. I feel like we've talked about him extensively on this show. The very likely MVP, if not him, Drake May. So, we love Stafford. We think he has just so much talent. So I don't know if there's something you wanted to say more about Stafford. I think we can, but I think we pretty much nailed it. That we're Stafford believers on this show. So let's talk a little bit about the coaching carousel. One more job has become open, the Buffalo Bills, and a couple of jobs have been finally filled. So before John, we can name them. We're going to do this word association game, and then we're going to save the Giants for the end. But word association game, just one word about what you feel about these hires. Okay, so the most recent one, Robert Saleh to the Titans.
It's a head scratcher for me. Just because this is why I say I think I don't know him personally. He seems like a heck of a coach. Players love to play for him, but his first head gig, he had a young quarterback, right? And then you have another top quarterback that you want to change the whole franchise, and you're bringing him in. And I think the big question is going to be who he brings in as a coordinator and who he brings in to develop Cam Ward. I mean, that's going to be the biggest decision he makes as the Titans head coach, is who he brings in to help develop him. But it is kind of an interesting hire 1 year after, and in a similar situation that he had in New York.
I would say redemption, because his second chance, there are similarities. I'm not saying the Titans are the Jets by any means, but got to develop the young quarterback. And I know Titans fans, being a previous Titan and having a bunch of fans in my messages, I think they're excited about it. They're really excited. They thought it was a great hire for them. And, I think Saleh might have had his choice of jobs, and he chose Tennessee, which should be, good for Tennessee fans. So can he get it not that he got the Jets wrong. Was that him or was that the Jets, right? I think we'll see, but I think it's redemption for Robert Saleh.
Mine is rehab, because everyone who goes to San Francisco for any amount of time gets to go anywhere they want after that and be good. See Sam Darnold. I just feel like is this the ultimate rehab organization or what? So I thought that was
It's like the Alabama of pro
it's
football.
the Alabama of pro football. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. Kevin Stefanski to the Falcons. I'll start with you, Logan.
This was surprising to me. Shocking or surprising. Like I didn't put these two together, and does Kirk Cousins now stay and rock with Stefanski? Like I know Matt Ryan, shout out my former CBS, took that job and he's running that over there. It's a great stuff. I believe Stefanski's a really good coach. I just didn't have these two as a fit. I don't know why. I was wide open. I know he's a top potential candidate. So he has a lot to do here with this Falcons team. They have a young nucleus. So I'm excited to see, but it was pretty surprising. I didn't put these two together.
Yeah, I wasn't really surprised that he got it. I figured he would get one of these jobs. I think it's a great opportunity for him. Obviously, he had a ton of success in Cleveland early on, kind of when they had a full squad there. And in the last couple of years, I think people have a bad taste in their mouth with him a little bit. But, he gets a great opportunity with some great young talent down in Atlanta. The big question, like all these teams that are letting go of their coaches, or what are they doing at the quarterback position, right? Is Penix your guy and you're going to get him going? Or are you going into the season thinking Kirk Cousins is going to start and maybe finish the season? So that's going to be the big question down in Atlanta.
That was mine. Quarterback? Question mark? Because you went from one, we're going to call it a headache. You went from a headache, a migraine. You went from a migraine in Cleveland at the quarterback position to having to make a pretty massive decision for the Falcons. I mean, a lot of maybe massive decisions. So I maybe he's ready to make that. I don't know, but I just know that he used to be a bouncer at a bar, and that was great at Penn. So yeah, it was fun stuff. All right. Now our guy Jeff Hafley, our guy on the pod, we like him, former BC grad and obviously former coach, player for his coach, to the Miami Dolphins. It's also a little bit of a quarterback question. Logan, since you are a big Hafley guy, tell us your thoughts.
Love so much. I love it. I just loved it. I love Jeff Hafley. He's such a good coach. I can't wait till people see him coach. Look, that's a unique situation down there in Miami, right? The quarterback situation again, complete culture different than McDaniels. Like defensive guy. I'm not saying no nonsense by any means, but good coach coming from a defensive perspective. To me, he's a leader of men, but he can also call plays. It's much different. I think Miami needed that. I think they needed an identity. They needed to be, respectable. And if I don't have a quarterback or don't know what my team is, it's got to be led by a dominant defense. When in doubt, a defense can keep me in the game. But if you don't have a quarterback, Miami went full offense last time. Now they swung it back. But I think he's a really good young head coach that would have had his chances at a lot of these jobs now opening. So I think Miami was big for scooping him up.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Jeff Hafley. I will say Logan is not the first person that I've talked to that speaks very highly of him. I think the big thing in Miami is who of that nucleus is going to be back, right? Is Tyreek going to be back? Is Tua going to be back? That's the big question mark, is if they get some of their high profile guys, figure out if they're actually coming back, or if Hafley's kind of started fresh and started new down there.
Mine was a question mark too, and I love the hire, but the question is roster control, because now without Chris Greer, I'm very interested to see if the reset there will have the effect that I imagine it will, which is, a different way of thinking and lots of cohesive decisions. So that's why it was an attractive job, in my opinion, because being able to have, two people come in together with, in theory, being in lockstep about roster decisions and thus how they play out on the field, I think that is great. So I think Jeff Hafley was very smart in general, but smart for taking this role, even though there are some questions as to what's going on with the nucleus, as you mentioned. Okay, Logan, it's time for your John Harbaugh to the Giants note.
One word, man. I have a bunch.
You can use a bunch.
It's, you know what? It is like franchise altering type of hire. The Giants for quite some time needed it. Obviously it's too good of a franchise, too good of a fan base, too good of people in the building for them not to be winning more consistently. Right. And I feel as if However ownership was in that organization, they now put a new guy in charge. And Zack and I will probably get in to talk about this. The mystery of the NFL is that there's probably one decision maker in every building. Some teams that's the head coach, some teams that's the GM, some teams that's president of operations. We don't fully know.
Some teams it's the owner.
Yeah, sometimes it's the owner in some teams' instances, right? They literally make all the decisions, or they have the final say. And maybe that's what Mike Vrabel wanted in Tennessee, why Tennessee got rid of him. He wanted too much power. But it's working out of New England for him, right? And that's what Andy Reid has, and but not every coach has that. And clearly in New York, they haven't got that right, And I think with John Harbaugh fighting for the power, it seems like, is what played out here. I think it's a new voice, a new direction, and a new face that I think is respectable. It brings the Giants credibility they haven't had since they won their last Super Bowl, truly. And there's a lot of revolving doors. Hopefully it's stability and credibility. I know the fans are excited because he seemed like the best coach available at the moment. I mean, guys are getting fired every day now, but at the moment, he seemed like the best coach available.
Dropping
obviously.
like flies.
Yeah, dropping like flies right now. So I think it's a big hopeful, and it's a change of direction in New York. And now John Harbaugh has the power, and I think that was needed of a shift there. And I'm excited. As a former Giant, I might go check out a game now. I might go check out a game. Who knows in the giving future, because it seemed like there was a shakeup and then that needed to happen.
Yeah, my word is going to be ego, kind of across the board, right? Like, can Joe Shane kind of check his ego and let Harbaugh be the man in charge and not fiddle with what he's doing? Can the players kind of accept that they have this coach coming in with all this, this great resume? Can they buy into what he's doing? And then really for Coach Harbaugh, like, he's not in Baltimore anymore. So everything he did in Baltimore may not work in New York. So can he bring his culture and what did work and then tinker around with the organization? So that's the big thing. I think can everyone work together and put the egos aside and get back to what's important up there, and that's just winning football games.
There was a great article that came out about how it all went down with like the dinner and the steakhouse they went out to in East Rutherford, and how Harbaugh ordered a fish and Joe Shane ordered a ribeye. And I thought that was
little power move.
Power move. I thought that was funny because, and then my question was I texted the person, what was the temperature they ordered that steak at? Because if it wasn't like, like if it was rare, he was just like totally like, I completely agree. To me, it's going to be, there's so much uncertainty. And unfortunately, John Mara being sick is not great, like all around, not great, like very difficult. So can you provide a level of cohesiveness between front office and coach that makes sense for everyone involved? Because this is one of the best organizations in the league. Like, they treat people right. Like, their scouts are happy. It is I know you're a Cowboy, you hate them, but it's a time honored, everyone knows that the Giants are great. So I hope this works because I think they have a great opportunity. Jackson Dart, of course, they have some good hope there, and they have pieces along that defensive front that they could flip into perhaps helping out the back end of their defense, God forbid. So, and they give Malik Neighbors back. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Giants fan. I just, I'd rather have the guy who ordered the fish than the ribeye, only because, I guess maybe he likes meat. I don't know, but I just felt like that was like posturing in some weird way. Okay, of the open jobs, obviously, Ravens or Bills, which one's the best one? We'll get out here in 2 seconds. We've gone on, but I have to know what you guys think. Remember, the backdrop of the Bills that people are forgetting is that they're opening up a new stadium. And I don't know what expectations will be given that, Brandon Beane's staying and they have a new stadium opening and you have Josh Allen. So that can maybe be a little bit higher expectations than you're having in Baltimore, where you're not opening a new stadium. And I don't know. That to me has a
I don't know how you choose it.
Yeah, I think maybe that reason, if I was a coach, just for the fan base in Buffalo. But as far as like rosters, it's pretty. I mean, you're kind of flipping a coin there, I think.
I think the Ravens roster it has more talent than the Bills roster. Now, both quarterbacks are absolutely generational. I played both of them different. Like, I played against Manning, Breeze, and all that stuff, Brady. But Lamar Jackson's, I didn't play against Michael Vick. I did in a preseason game, but like he's the only one Lamar Jackson I've ever went up against. And Josh Allen, I've talked about it, might be one of the biggest, best arms. He might be one of those skilled quarterbacks to ever play. So when you take that job, the expectation's high right away, but you don't have a quarterback issue. And that is legitimately, they're both the prime jobs. 1A, 1B, whether you want cold weather and Josh Allen or you want Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, whatever you want to deal
just
with.
not quite as cold, maybe. I don't know.
You can't go wrong. And honestly, I have no idea who these coaches are going to be.
No idea.
I don't know who they're going to hire. Like I can't even think of one right now that's like, I think there's such big jobs. I don't know if they're like going to go monitor the college market now. Do we get Cignetti? Can we get him out? Or I don't know what it is, but they are an elite jobs that don't come open every single year. And a lot of coaches are going to be angling to go get this job. It's going to be very interesting to see who pops
I was
up.
surprised about Sean McDermott in large part because, well, one, his players left him, but two, there are so many open jobs. I mean, we haven't even talked about Pittsburgh. That is a marquee franchise, at least. I mean, you have a quarterback question, Aaron Rodgers, AJ Roster, we get it, but like, it's still the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. And of course, you have the Raiders. Their fan base is as adamant and ardent as it comes. They often have some turnover coaching recently. And then, the Cardinals. So there's still open jobs to be had. Like, I guess I wouldn't want to compete if I'm Buffalo, even with Josh Allen. I wouldn't want to compete with Baltimore for the best coaching candidate. I just wouldn't want to do it. I mean, I think they're I don't know. So I was a little surprised by that for a number of reasons, but.
So what are you hearing in your circles, Cynthia, of potential candidates for those jobs?
For the Ravens, for the Steelers, I think I have heard similar things about maybe Brian Flores.
I love Brian.
And now I will say I do know him. We went to college together. I have not heard from him. I have not asked him. I texted him, but he hasn't texted me back yet. He'll text me once he texts me. But so I will say I don't know that yet. I'm not sure. The other ones, the Bills haven't even really gotten started yet. To my knowledge, I'm sure they have internally, but they haven't reached out to people publicly yet. So I'm not sure. Ravens, that one feels like as much of a mystery as it could be. I wouldn't be surprised if Shieldhouse got one of these jobs, but I'm not sure which. I just don't know who's going to go to the Cardinals and the Raiders. That to me is the bigger mystery. Maybe we'll find out next week. Hopefully, I mean, it's possible no one could get hired until we're back here next week. We'll break it down either way next week, but there'll be lots to talk about. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm sorry I kept you. We went a little over time, but it was so good. We had to hear all of it. You guys are the best. Please subscribe and like and comment. If there's anything else you want to know, I read the comments, so I will bring into that. And I'm going to ask these guys, so happy to answer any questions that you can. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. You guys are the freaking best, and I will see you back here after. We should probably do like an award show next week. I feel like we should at least do. Anyways, I'll see you guys back here next week. Thanks for hanging out.